Okay, so today we're going to look at the number one ladies detective agency by Alexander McCall Smith. He is a fantastic author. He's a Scottish man who's actually he lived in Botswana, and he writes about Botswana, and he writes about a lady called Precious Ramotswe. She's the series protagonist. She's a traditionally built Botswanian woman who sets up her own private detective agency and is the first female private detective in the country. She's traditionally built, which means that she's large and beautiful, and she's a very strong, vivacious, down-to-earth character. She's actually been abandoned. I think she got divorced, and terrible things have happened to her and her family, but that's life, and she just kind of tries to enjoy the minutiae, the little bits of everyday life, and just to enjoy her ordinary events. And Alexander McCall Smith says, I believe that people are very interested in reading about the ordinary things of life. One can make a very simple situation seem really interesting, and it's often very simple matters that arouse most passions in people. He told the Literary Review this in 2007. But, you can see the book's about simple things and told with humour. And the cases often include straying husbands, missing people, con men. And the local people love her, as do I. And you can see some of the titles are the Kalahari Typing School for Men, In the Company of Cheerful Ladies, The Full Cupboard of Life. They're great titles, and we really love them. They're humorous, and you can actually really get a flavour of what the books are about. They're very short. He writes endearing characters, an uncluttered style, and a laid-back pace. So it's written really slowly. So basically, sometimes she gets up, she has a cup of tea. She has cups of teas all the time, which I love cups of tea, and she bases her life around cups of tea. And she she enjoys the simple things in life, like sitting on a balcony, enjoying a cup of tea, or going to a party for orphans, or having a slice of pumpkin. And then she says how lucky she is to be alive, to be enjoying this slice of pumpkin as the sun goes down. And it's absolutely a wonderful attitude, very positive, and very good humoured. And I'm delighted to be teaching these. Actually, I could teach these all the time. Actually, I think they're a philosophy of life. It teaches you to enjoy the present moment. It's the only moment we have. It's a bit of a Buddhist philosophy, actually, which I also have. So I really hope you like this, and I hope you go on to read all the books. All right, very simple, very uncluttered style, written from a third-person perspective. Yeah, and or could almost be read by children, really, but really quite a complex message. Okay, so we'll just get on with it then. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first, said happy Bapetsi. I come from Morn, you see. My mother had a small shop, and I lived with her in the house at the back. We had lots of chickens, and we were very happy. My mother told me that my daddy had left a long time ago when I was still a little baby. He had gone off to work in Bulawayo and had never come back. Somebody had written to us to say that he thought that my daddy was dead, but he wasn't sure. He said he had gone to see somebody at Mapelo Hospital one day, and as he was walking along a corridor, he saw them wheeling somebody out on a stretcher, and the dead person on the stretcher looked remarkably like my daddy, but he couldn't be certain. So he decided that he was probably dead, but my mother did not mind a great deal because she'd never really liked him very much, and of course I couldn't even remember him, so it did not make much difference to me. I went to school in Morn at a place run by some Catholic missionaries. One of them discovered that I could do arithmetic very well. I suppose it was rather odd, or very odd. I could see a group of figures and I would just remember it. Then I would find that I'd added the figures in my head, even without thinking about it. It just came very easily, and I didn't have to work at all. I did very well in my exams, and at the end of the day I went off to Gaborone and learnt how to be a bookkeeper. Again, it was very simple for me. I could look at a whole sheet of figures and understand it immediately. Then, the next day, I could remember every figure exactly and write them all down if I needed to. What a marvellous skill. I got a job in a bank and I was given promotion after promotion. Now I am the number one sub-accountant, and I don't think I can go any further because all men are worried that I'll make them look stupid. But I don't mind. I get very good pay and I can finish my work by 3 in the afternoon. Sometimes earlier. I go shopping after that. I have a nice room with 4 rooms and I'm very happy. So she's really, really clever and she's not allowed to climb up any further. Mama Ramotswe smiled. That's all very interesting. You're right. You've done very well. But then this happened. My daddy arrived at the house. He just knocked at the door, said Happy Bapetsi. It was a Saturday afternoon and I was taking a rest on my bed when I heard his knocking. I got up, went to the door, and there was this man, about 60 or so, standing there with his hat in his hands. He told me that it was my daddy and that he'd been living in Bulawayo for a long time, but he was now back in Botswana and come to see me. You can understand how shocked I was. I had to sit down, or I think I would have fainted. In the meantime, he spoke. He told me my mother's name, which was correct, and he said that he was sorry that he hadn't been in touch before. Then he asked if he could stay in one of the spare rooms, as he had nowhere else to go. Cheeky. I said that of course he could. In a way, I was very excited to see my daddy. I thought it would be good to be able to make up for all those lost years and to have him staying with me, particularly since my poor mother died. So I made a bed for him in one of the rooms. She's very sweet, isn't she? And cooked him a large meal of steak and potatoes, which he ate very quickly. And then he asked for more. Kushti, isn't it, for this man? That was all about 3 months ago. Since then, he's been living in that room and I've been doing all the work for him. I make his breakfast, I cook him some lunch, which I leave in the kitchen, and then make his supper at night. Sounds a bit annoying, doesn't it? Sounds like she's a slave. I buy him 1 bottle of beer a day, and I've also bought him some new clothes and a pair of good shoes. She's a very good lady. Does she even know it's her dad? All he does is sit in his chair outside the front door and tell me what to do for him next. Many men are like that, interrupted Mama Ramotswe. Happy Bapetsi nodded. This one is especially like that. He has not washed a single cooking pot since he arrived, and I've been getting very, very tired running after him. He also spends a lot of money on my vitamin pills. Do you think they're really vitamin pills? I would not resent this, but for one thing, I do not think that this is my real daddy. I have no way of proving this, but I think that this man is an imposter, and that he heard about our family from my real daddy before he died, and is now just pretending. I think he is a man who's been looking for a retirement home and who's very, very pleased because he's found a very good one, because she's a very efficient lady, isn't she? Can you help me? Asked Happy Bapetsi. Can you find out whether this man is really my daddy? Mama Ramotswe is a detective. She's a private detective and she finds out things. So her job is now to try and find out if this man is really Happy's daddy, because it sounds like, he's actually taking the mickey out of her, isn't he? If we look at the 10 points that I like to look at when you look at a text, we can say, the tone is kind of quite a matter of fact, isn't it? And slightly understated. She's not really explaining how annoyed she is. It's very simple language, and it's quite repetitious. It's like a simple girl speaking about her daddy. So basically, it's it's almost like the speech is from her point of view about her daddy. I make him breakfast, cook him some lunch, and I leave him in the kitchen. Very, very simple. Like a girl who's kind of maybe good at maths but sort of not so good at other things perhaps. So there's lots of subtext in this that you can actually read into. Here's a very lovely girl who's wants to look after her daddy, if indeed it is, but obviously he's vanished for her whole life and he's not been very present for her, has he? The imagery, there's not really any imagery in there. Is there really? I don't think. It's a lot of spoken, simple, colloquial, oral language where she tells her about, let me tell you a little about myself first, said Happy Bapetsi. Great name, Happy. This is one of my favourite books, the #1 detective agencies. They're wonderful books that have got a wonderful moral, and they're usually very kind in the end, and it always sorts out okay, but awful things happen in the middle, like in real life, really. Basically they're sort of moral lessons for life, the #1 ladies detective agency, and I always read one in a night, so I'm glad we're doing one here. So what else do we look at? So the message is some young girl who's obviously been exploited by an old man who's either her daddy or pretending to be her daddy, and she's gone off, and the subject matter is she's gone off to ask Mama Ramotswe, the number one ladies detective, to sort it all out for her. Do we like this text? I love this text. I love the way it's written in a very simple, understated way, but actually it's got some really, really important message about people being ripped off and life being quite hard, and you've got to stay smiley, like Happy Bapetsi seems to be trying to. She seems to be saying, you know, I want to find out if he's really my dad. If he is, I suppose I'll have to put up with him. He has not washed a single cooking pot since he arrived. I've been getting very tired running after him. He also spends a lot of money on my vitamin pills. So she's listed all the things she's done for him. I buy him 1 bottle of beer a day. I've also bought him some new clothes and a pair of good shoes. All he does is sit in his chair outside the front door and tell me what to do next. So it's very simply written, very colloquial, very like the written word, but it's got some quite complex messages about, you know, human nature really. So it's enormous fun. And the next one we're going to look at is compared to Obama, obviously, he writes his own book about his childhood, and that's a very, very different book. So we'll look at that in a minute. Okay. And I think this is a little picture drawn by someone of Mama Ramotswe thinking what to do, just for your amusement. So, if you look at my beloved 10 points to take a look at the number one ladies detective agency and how it's written, you can see that the message is basically here's a good person, a kind person who's taken in a man, and she's not sure if he's her dad or not. So she's quite kindly, really, and open-minded, actually, but she's just a little bit worried. The subject matter is this ordinary girl, Happy Bapetsi, going to see Mama Ramotswe, who is his wonderful, kind-hearted, intelligent detective based in Botswana. The tone is actually humorous and fun, really. So basically, it's told matter-of-factly and it's understated. But my mother told my daddy that I'd left a long time ago, and I was still a little baby. He'd gone off to work in Bulawayo, had never come back. Well, that's kind of sad. But she gets on and she becomes very successful in her life. And ironically, someone turns up then and tries to take advantage of her, doesn't he? And it's sort of written in an understated way. And it's sort of a funny situation. Someone comes up, pretends to be your dad. It's sort of black humour, really. If you look at the language of the piece, it's very, very simple. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first, said Happy Bapetsi. Look at her name, Happy Bapetsi. I come from Morn, you see. My mother had a small shop and I lived with her in the house at the back. Very simple, as people talk, called colloquial language. So it's very, very simple colloquial language. It's actually deceptively simple, because actually she often deals with very complex issues, Mama Ramotswe, and Alex McCall Smith, who actually is a professor of medical ethics. So he's actually he deals with complex medical issues, but in a sort of a kind way, or not just medical issues, ethics really, not just medical issues, ethics in general. So, if we look at the imagery, there's no imagery in this. It's really important. It's written in a very simple way. There's no rhythm and rhyme, obviously, because it's not a poem. Literary devices, there's quite a lot of repetition in it. My daddy had left a long time. It shows how simple she was, how naive, how innocent Happy is. Even her name makes her sound innocent. And then he just knocked on the door, said, Happy Bapetsi. It was Saturday afternoon. I was taking a rest on my bed when I heard his knocking. I got up, went to the room. There was this man about 60 or so, standing there with his hat in his hands. He told me that he was my daddy. So she keeps emphasising the word daddy, and that he'd been living in Bulawayo for a long time, but is now back in Botswana and had come to see me. And then there's the list, really, of things that she did for the dad. It emphasises, how kind she is. He's been living in that room, doing all the work for him. I make his breakfast, cook him some lunch, make his supper at night, buy him 1 bottle of beer, and I bought him some new clothes. So it's lists, really, about how... And then in between, you have Mama Ramotswe, who's actually really, really a very clever, kind-hearted woman, saying wise things. I love these books. They take about an evening to read, or maybe 3 evenings for you, and they're full of goodness and kindness. Many men are like that, interrupted Mama Ramotswe, which is true. There are lots of men who do nothing and let the women do all the work all over the world. So This one is especially like that, says Happy Bapetsi. He has not washed a single cooking pot since he arrived. But it's not just for women, these books. They're for everybody who likes a comment on humanity and human nature. And he unravels the most funniest mysteries, really. But the mysteries aren't really the key thing. So the mystery here, probably on the formal structure, is... will she find the dad? And we don't obviously out if the dad is hers. We don't actually find that out in this piece. So that's the structure, isn't it? And the form. The form is a series of a direct speech, really. It's written in the third person. So basically, it's an omniscient author. The author is sort of seeing everything. It's not written from the I or the we. It's written from, some sort of godlike person writing about what Happy's up to and Mama Ramotswe's up to and everything. But it's in a very simple style, and we don't really get all of the details all the time, and we're left to sort of infer, really, for example, how naughty this man has actually been. And also she's very clever, but it's also very, very funny. Now I'm the #1 sub accountant, I don't think I can go any further because all the men are worried that I'll make them look stupid, and that's actually very, very funny, because that's actually often what happens is women get stuck at certain levels, because men often like to promote themselves and be the big cheese in throughout the world, really, and the women are often more interested in other things like bringing up their children and stuff. So I don't think I can go any further because all the men are worried about I'll make them look stupid, but I don't mind. I get very good pay. I can finish all the work by 3 in the afternoon. So she's really happy and grateful for what she's got. So there's a lesson there for all of us. So yeah, there's sort of a lesson, really, as well within the whole of the short extract. Anyway, I love these things, and there's a short extract from the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. It's the first one he wrote. There is actually 15 if you really like them, which I do. All right then, and so I'm going to look at a comparison text, which is Obama's text, Dreams of My Father. Well, we're going to compare the two, but I'm going to start a whole new video for that because that's going to be another 15 minutes, basically. And so I just want you to absorb that particular piece about the #1 Ladies Detective Agents by Alexander McCall Smith. And I'll do another video for you, and I'll put a set of questions on the end of this one that you can answer yourself. Okay, they're exam type questions, but really and truly I just want you to enjoy reading that and understand why and how it works and is effective text, because they're absolutely wonderful, and the questions may help you to consolidate that understanding of why it's really successful. Okay, but so I'll do the second Obama text that they're going to compare, and then I'll give you, and we'll go through some exam type questions in the next video. But I think it's a shame to ruin Alexander McCall Smith with some questions at this stage. We're just going to enjoy them, and you can buy the books in any charity shop. Actually, they've got tons, and they're absolutely great, and your mum and dad would love them too, and they're really good holiday reading. All right, okay then, and I'll tell you, oh, here's another one. The Good Husband of Zebra Drive is another title, and the Deluxe Cafe for Gentlemen, I think, is another one. And The Woman Who Walked in Sunshine is another title. Brilliant titles, and actually brilliant books, and hats off to McCall Smith. And I really, really want to go to Botswana. It's one of my aims because yeah, it sounds like a fabulous country, and I even fancy being a #1 Ladies Detective, actually. But I suppose I'll just have to stick with being an English teacher. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm still keen on it, but I don't know if I'll be very good at it. All right then, well, enjoy, and I'll see you for the next video. All right then, bye.